40 years ago, Steve Jobs said that computers represented a revolutionary step towards cooperating. But is this what we're seeing? In some ways, our recent technology helps bring us together. But in many ways, it disconnects and divides us. The internet has helped disrupt and solve many problems in our world. But it's yet to disrupt what I believe is the world's biggest problem: the way that we interact with and treat each other. Imagine if we could disrupt the violence. Imagine if we could disrupt the barriers between us. Just imagine for a minute if this technology could allow us to create a more empathetic and more civilized world. It's my deep belief that once we begin to treat each other better and interact in more civilized and constructive ways, the other problems in the world will slowly begin to fade. Martin Luther King said, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that." Well, this is the light that I want to shine. How many people remember seeing this video? How many people know what happened to these two men after this video surfaced? It looks like no one. Okay. Well, in a minute, I'm going to show you what happened afterwards. But before we get there, I want to ask the question, why? Why is it that so few people know what happened after this video surfaced? It's because our news media thrives on conflicts, divisions, and tragedies. They dehumanize us. It's a media culture of scrutinize from a distance rather than engage face to face. But we can do that so easily today, given the technology at our fingertips. So I've been spending the past few years building out a platform that we call Panacea, which is devoted to humanizing those of us who have been dehumanized by the media or society at large. It's a place for people to address each other face to face in front of an audience in a more constructive setting. When a news story hits and the pitchfork mobs come out to pounce on people when they're most vulnerable, we bring them in to draw empathy and help them learn from their mistakes and improve from them. At the peak of the presidential race, John McGraw and Raheem Jones became symbols, not only of the political divisions, but also the racial divisions and the media divisions. Certain outlets painted John negatively, while others painted Raheem negatively. What do you think happened when I reached out and offered them an opportunity to speak to each other face to face with a moderator? At first, there was some apprehension, but ultimately they agreed. Since we offer participants the ability to speak from separate locations, this removes tension and any threats of violence. It also allows them to speak in a setting that's more natural and more comfortable for them. And a court order prevented them from being in the same physical location. So after just a few minutes of calm, open dialogue, the whole narrative did a 180. They looked at each other and realized, this is just a human like me. At the end of the discussion, they exchanged kind words. And when they stood in front of a judge a month later, they hugged. And John even shed a few tears. John and Raheem confirm what we all know, but fail to practice in our own lives. Open dialogue can solve so many of our interpersonal conflicts. We have a tendency to prejudge and assume to know the motives of other people. We often overreact as a result of what we wrongly assume. Face-to-face open dialogue is the only true way to understand the true motives and perspectives of other people. John and Raheem also remind us that we're all imperfect and we all make mistakes. The question is, as a society, how should we best deal with our mistakes afterwards? Should we run away? Should we ostracize people? Should we pursue punishment or revenge? Gandhi said that forgiveness is the attribute of the strong. Which brings me to the series we've started. I'm going into the prisons to facilitate dialogues between those behind bars and those on the outside directly impacted by their crimes. This type of format has never been filmed before. As a prelude to these prison dialogues, we've been filming episodes about forgiveness and reconciliation. We brought in Darryl Green with Kimyon Marshall, the man who killed his brother when he was 14. We brought in Mary Dolan, who forgave the man who killed her daughter while visiting him in prison. We brought in Pierre Laguerre, who forgave the man who cracked open his skull with a bottle. Thanks to the internet, we can bring these people together and bring their stories to the world as an alternative to the status quo. The status quo is fight or flight when confronted with adversity or conflicts with others. The status quo is revenge, which makes so many small problems in society get so much bigger. Our participants are doing the opposite by confronting those uncomfortable truths head on. Our participants are engaging in tough, courageous conversations that bring them closer together and alter their lives. The early innovators who brought us this technology weren't motivated so that we can hide behind our screens to ridicule and fight. People like Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, Lee Felsenstein, and Richard Stallman, they saw this technology as a new way to connect, to share, and to humanize. They saw it as a way to disempower the powerful and empower everyone. Can we follow in the footsteps of these amazing innovators and use this technology for what they envisioned? Can we disrupt long-standing cultural norms that don't work and need to be replaced? I believe that we can in our lifetimes, thanks to this awesome power brought to us by these amazing innovators. For the first time in history, we now have the technology to radically improve the way that we interact with and treat each other. After that, the possibilities for the future have no limits or barriers. Please join me. Thank you.